I am excited to share this testimony with you. This section of videos is called Walking with Jesus, and it's how Jesus is having me walk with him through this season and teaching me about him. He's introducing me to random people that are sharing their testimonies with me about how he has healed them, delivered them, been there for them in their time of need. And so I'm excited because God is just, he's on the move. You know, sometimes we hear about so many negative things that are going on in the world, and we don't get to hear about how God is still moving. And so these videos will help to increase your faith and share with you that God is still working, God is still moving. And some of these testimonies are current, and some are that have already happened in the past. But we know that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And so we can see through the Bible how he walked with his people, how he led them, how he was there with them. He provided for them supernaturally. And he's still the same. And he's still providing for us supernaturally. So I'm excited to share with you today a testimony. It's a testimony of a 91-year-old man, and his name is Steve. The title of this video is Go Talk to Him. So I was finishing up. I'm a hospice chaplain. So I was finishing up with a patient that I had there at this particular facility. And I'm getting ready to leave. And in my head, I'm just thinking about the next thing that I'm going to do. So as I grab the doorknob and start to walk out, all of a sudden my attention is diverted from my own personal thoughts to this man is sitting in the corner. He's on the far side of the room. You can see he's sitting at a small table, and he has his head down, which the posture he was sitting in, I wasn't sure if he was praying or if he was asleep or why he was sitting the way he was. But the Lord clearly said, go talk to him. And so my natural mind, of course, starts questioning, and this always happens. My natural mind gets in the way of what my spirit is being told to do. So here I have the Lord telling me to go talk to him. My natural mind starts telling me, well, I don't know what to say. I don't know what I'm supposed to say when I walk up to him. Plus, I don't know if he's praying. I don't know if he's asleep. I don't want to bother him. But despite all the things that quickly passed through my mind, I started walking over to him. And as I got closer to him, I said in a kind of loud voice, because again, I didn't know if he was possibly hard of hearing. So I said, what are you reading? And so he starts to pick up his head, and he laughs as he does, and he says, well, if I can stay awake long enough, I'm trying to read the Bible. I said, okay. I said, well, you reading anything in particular? And he says, well, I was trying to read something from Genesis. I said, okay. I said, well, yeah, that could be a problem, not being able to stay awake. And we kind of laughed about it a little bit. And I asked him, I said, is there anything in particular that you need prayer for? And he looks at me and he studies me a little bit. So I told him, I said, I was getting ready to leave, and as I was about to walk out, I clearly heard the Lord tell me to come over here and talk to you. So I'm asking you again, is there anything that you would like prayer for? So he asked me if I wanted to sit down. So I said, sure. I sat down. So at that point, I forgot all about what I had to do. It's not my time, my plan, my schedule, my agenda. It's whatever God wants to do. So he starts telling me that he wants prayer to thank God because he is thankful. I said, okay. He says, I'm thankful because I had a fall not too long ago. And he said, it could have been a lot worse than what happened. So he tells me that when he fell, he hit the corner of something, which caused his body to turn. So when he landed on his shoulder and his arm, he ended up cracking the bone in his shoulder. But he was thankful and wanted to give God thanks because he said he knew that if he would have landed on the back of his head, it would have been a lot worse. And because he had cracked his shoulder and he had cracked his shoulder, he felt that he would have cracked his head instead. So I prayed with him, and we gave God thanks and glory, honor, and praise. And then he starts telling me 2 more testimonies. And so he shares with me a little bit about his background first, and he tells me that he used to work for the post office, that he would deliver the mail on a train. And then later, he became a fireman, and he did this for 28 years. So then he starts sharing his testimonies with me, and he tells me that in the first testimony, he was out doing some yard work, and as he was about to pull some limbs, he was going to transfer them to another part of the property. He felt a lot of pain in his knee. So he stopped and stood there for a moment, and the pain passed. So he kind of moved his knee around a little bit, and he didn't feel anything else. So he continued on with working. Well, he said shortly after that, his knee swelled up really bad. And so he had to make an appointment to go to the doctor to see the doctor. He said he had gone to the doctor the next day, and the doctor took some x-rays of his knee, told him he had torn something in it, told him to stay off of it, and he could put ice on it, but he said only put ice for 10 minutes at a time, and then let it alone for a little while, and then you could put the ice, another 10 minutes. He said you could put the ice as many times as you want, but just do it 10 minutes at a time, 10-minute increments. So he says, I want to see you back in 1 week and 1 day, and we'll need to talk about surgery and what your options are. So they discussed a little bit about his options, and he did not want surgery, and he didn't want to do something that was temporary. So he goes home. He ends up putting the ice on it. Then the next day or so, he starts feeling like he can put pressure on it, but the doctor had told him, stay off of it. Don't put pressure on it. He said it's torn. Well, he didn't listen. He felt like he could put pressure on it, so he did. And he ended up walking on it. He goes back to the doctor in about a week and 1 day, like the doctor told him. And the doctor proceeds to start talking to him about it as what he remembered from the previous visit. So he starts discussing options for surgery. And he tells him, Steve tells the doctor that he feels like it's healed. And the doctor says, don't you feel pain in it? And he said, are you staying off of it? And he said, no. He says, I've been walking on it. I feel fine. And the doctor says, I need to check you. So he tells him, I'm going to apply pressure in different areas, and I don't want you looking at me. So you look straight ahead as I apply the pressure, and let me know when you feel pain. So he starts pressing in different areas, and he doesn't feel anything. He doesn't feel any pain. He's not making any faces. And so the doctor looks at him and he says, "Did you do something else that you're not telling me about?" And he says, "No." He says, "All I did was I went home, I put the ice on it, I prayed and talked to the Lord about it, and," he says, "I feel like I'm healed." So the doctor says, "I'm going to have to do another x-ray." So he takes another x-ray. He comes back and he's completely dumbfounded. He doesn't understand because he's comparing the two x-rays, and the first one clearly shows that without surgery, that the way that the knee had tore, it was not going to heal by itself. So the doctor's asking him again, "What did you do? There's no way that this could heal like this. And it's only been 1 week and a day. How is it possible?" And he says, "All I can tell you is that I prayed and that God healed me." So I was really blessed and encouraged by this testimony. Also encouraged by the fact that he had cracked his bone in his shoulder when he fell. And when they did a second x-ray, they told him that it was healing. Whereas the first time they told him that it was going to take a very long time for it to heal. And he told them, "I don't have a lot of time." So I'm encouraged, but there's more to it that I'm missing, but I just don't know it at that moment. So he goes on to tell me this other testimony. So he says that when his daughter was younger, that she had some pain in her mouth on one of her tooths. So they looked at it. He got a flashlight and shined the light and looked at it, and you could clearly see that it looked like it had some infection, and it was red. It was very irritated, and that's why it was hurting her, as far as what they could see. So when they took her to the dentist did whatever he needed to examine her, and he said that the tooth was growing in sideways, and that's why she was having so much pain. So they needed to make an appointment so they could come back and surgery could take place. The dentist explained that they would have to cut in certain areas, lift the tooth. He didn't know how that was going to affect the root, and just different things that they left with several concerns. So they go home, they discuss things, they pray about it, and then when they come back for their appointment, they tell the dentist that there's no more pain and that they think that she's been healed. So he examines her and he asks him, "What did you do?" The tooth turned itself around and it is growing upward the way that it needs to. "I don't understand. What did you do?" And they said, "We didn't do anything." And so he even went to a conference where all the dentists get together, it's a big conference, and he presented that particular case to them and asked them, "How is this possible?" And every single one of them agreed. There was no way possible for that to happen. No way. So again, God gets all the glory, all the honor, and all the praise. He did a miracle. He not only did a miracle once, he did a miracle several times in Steve's life. And so I am encouraged by that. I grab a hold of that and I say, "Lord, I know that you're still a miracle working God. You do not change. And so what you do for one, you'll do for another. And I know that that other is me. That other is you. So I share this with you to bring you encouragement. That whatever it is that you need, talk to the Lord about it. Talk to the Lord about it, because that's all prayer is a conversation. It's a conversation that we have with God. I pray that this has encouraged you, and that if you haven't subscribed to this channel already, that you will subscribe to it, and share it with others. If something blesses you, share it with others. We are quick to send all kinds of things that alert us to others to beware. Let us alert others as well. Look what God is doing. Look what God has done. Look what God still is doing. Many blessings to you.